Time for me to present our third speaker, international guest of today. It's Roberto dos Reis Alvarez. He's an analysis and strategic project manager at the Brazilian Agency for Industrial Development. Welcome.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. It's really a pleasure and an honor to be back to Sweden, to be back to Stockholm. I am Roberto. If you want to contact me today or in the future, please take a note. If you want to tweet on this presentation, take a note of that. I'm an engineer by training and a bureaucrat by practice. I work for something that's the Brazilian Agency for Industrial Development. That's what ABDI stands for. ABDI is a Brazilian government agency which business is to help the country to implement its industrial development strategy, what is mostly about innovation. And it's from that standpoint that I'll be sharing a few ideas with you on three different things. Brazil, innovation in Brazil, and what's next? What's next for Brazil and beyond in some way in terms of innovation promotion. And have you ever heard about a guy called Lando Moura? Has anyone here in this room have ever heard about that guy? Nobody? That guy is a Brazilian. Back in 1904, he filed a patent in the United States for a wireless telephone. And I will be back to this idea in the end of this presentation. And I'll tell you why that is something that resonates to Brazil's reality today. So, what is the case? What's Brazil's reality today? Brazil has come a long way. We used it to be a rural country in the mid of the past century. We managed to build a widely diversified economy. And Brazil is roughly half of South America, both in terms of population and GDP. And in terms of size, Brazil is comparable to the United States. And together, the United States, Brazil, and Europe are the three largest food producers in the globe. For sure, we have a lot of land, we have water, and we have sun in Brazil. But those are not the reasons that explain Brazil's success in food production. According to The Economist, there are three reasons that explain that. And they are Embrapa, Embrapa, and Embrapa. And Embrapa stands for the Brazilian Research Organization for Agricultural Science. It's a Brazilian government organization. Back in the 70s, Brazil used it to be a food importer. But we then faced as a society two really key things. First, we had an issue with food security. And second, we didn't have money at that time to afford for food imports. So as a society, we made a decision to invest in technology and science for food production. And we built that organization. According to the Brazilian Economic Research Institute, a think tank in Brazil, 75% of Brazil's growth in, let's say, Brazil's growth in food production can be explained by investment in science and technology. And that's because of that we have joined Europe, and the United States are really important players in that field. Brazil is also a country, and this is really a recent picture. It was taken 3 weeks ago. Brazil is one of the largest aircraft producers in the globe today. And that picture, it was taken in the day when Embraer, a Brazil headquartered company, rolled out for the first time ever its new cargo aircraft. But that country also faces serious issues related to poverty. But there are good news. And the good news is that in the last 10 years, we took 40 million Brazilians out of poverty. And because of that, more and more Brazil is becoming a middle-class country. Brazil nowadays is the 4th largest global market for computers. the second or third for cosmetics, the fourth for mobile sets, the fourth for automobiles. And because of that, Brazil today is the fourth main destination for FDI in the globe. Well, so what's the case for innovation? If we come a long way, and we still have a long way to go. Brazil's GDP per capita is between 11 to 12,000 US dollars. GDP per capita in Sweden is 58,000 US dollars. That's a huge gap. The only way as a society to fill that gap is to increase our capacity to produce an appropriate value. And that goes through innovation. And this is not just a theoretical thing. We have fact and data to support that idea. Since 2003, we've been working with microdata coming from companies in Brazil, and the Brazilian Institute for Applied Economic Research has been working in that field and taking data from 70,000 industrial companies that represent 97.5% of Brazil's industrial GDP. We now can surely say that innovation completely makes sense for Brazil. Companies that innovate, they're more productive, they grow more, they export more, they generate more and better jobs. Well, but we know, and we have just seen that in Manuel's presentation, we are coming from behind. So if we consider the percentage of the GDP that we are investing in research and development, we are behind Sweden, we are behind Israel, and we are especially behind the fastest growing players in that field. They're coming from Asia. So we are coming from behind. And at the same time, in Brazil or for Brazil, it's key to make a difference between innovation, invention, and science and technology. But what are we doing and what have we done? So, and I'll share a few pieces of information with you on 3 different things: capital, infrastructure, especially, let's say, the legal infrastructure, and people or talent. Well, back in 2005, 24 years after the United States, Brazil passed a similar law to the US Bayh-Dole Act. We call the innovation law in Brazil. Since then, we have more than 200 tech transfer offices set up in the country. We have like 400 tech incubators spread out over Brazil. And we are now putting together what in some way it's a Brazilian interpretation of the German Fraunhofer Society. This is being deployed at this very moment. We are investing $2 billion US in creating a network. In fact, putting a layer of business servers on top of a network of research centers in the country. So because of a change in the legislation, we've been improving the science/innovation technology infrastructure in Brazil. But we've been also expanding the amount of resources that are available for R&D projects. 2 years ago, President Rousseff issued a new program in the country, and we are now investing 15 billion, so we're providing 15 billion US dollars to companies to invest in new technologies and innovation in Brazil. And we are also trying to do, for sure, talking about big companies, Embraer, or expanding the amount of money. But at the same time, and this is critical for Brazil, we need to think on some of the grassroots things. We've been working to foster the development of digital businesses, and we have several business incubators and special business accelerators now in Brazil. And we, like 2 years ago, we initiated a program that we call Startup Brazil. We are helping not just companies from Brazil, but companies from different geographies to go to Brazil and to be incorporated there. Say digital companies, and they are mostly coming from the United States, roughly half of that. Well, the first thing, people, we have expanded from 3 million to 7.3 million, the number of people enrolled in higher education in Brazil. We are coming from behind because just 12% of Brazil's population has university degrees. But we have also as we move forward in the process, we have been expanding the number of people with PhD degrees in the country. We've been trying to tackle something that is really important. To bundle that with the development of global skills, Sylvia has mentioned that. Brazil is just finishing at this very point what we call the Science Without Borders first version. We sent 100,000 students, mostly in science, technology, engineering, math abroad. A new round was opened up and students will start to flow until 2015. And this is not just about developing hard skills, it's mostly about developing networks and soft skills in bundling those things. And I worked overnight on the presentation because of the conversation that Sun mentioned that we had yesterday. And this is just another example of things that we are, let's say, prototyping in some way. This is a picture for the first ever Brazil Diaspora Network Award. Yeah, Brazil is not as big as India, but we have Brazilians as business expats, business executives, we have Brazilian researchers all over the globe, and we are working, and my organization is running that, and that ceremony, or in that ceremony, Brazilian researchers were recognized by the Brazilian Ministers for Development and Foreign Affairs. So we're trying to level the field, or to try to take advantage of expertise and capabilities, especially business capabilities or capabilities in the space of doing, let's say, science or knowledge intensive business, and connecting those capabilities to what's happening on the ground in Brazil. Well, okay, so where's next in that? I think there are basically two things that I want to share with you in terms of challenges. This picture is not from Brazil, it's from Chile. It's from the Atacama Desert, where the ALMA project was implemented. The price tag for that is 1.4 billion. And this is to say, size also matters. For sure, we need to take care of digital startups, we need to nurture the development of the startups ecosystem, but a country that wants to be a player or a relevant player in the global scenario, we also need to go for big science projects. The other thing is, well, this is an iPhone, yeah? In comparison to the IBM PC, that was launched back in 1981. This device has 8,000 times more memory. In fact, the IBM PC was one of the processor, the Intel processor was mostly developed in Israel. It was one of the first jobs assigned to the Haifa Research Center for Intel in Israel, the 8088, yeah? And this thing, it has come a long way. And this is a great example, but not just this. We're seeing the same kind of behavior with DNA sequencing. We have a wide range of new emerging exponential technologies with a great transformational power. So besides being able to deploy big research or big science projects, this is something that Brazil needs to go for, something that Brazil is aiming at. We could take advantage of exponential technologies to unleash a new generation or to empower a new generation of entrepreneurs and innovators. And this is a short video, just to share with you one example.
Nosso professor iniciou projeto com a gente.
O projeto, chamado Batubasat, está trazendo muitas oportunidades e mudando o nosso futuro.
O aluno de escola pública é capaz de fazer, é capaz de pesquisar.
Pela faixa etária das crianças, é uma coisa inédita e belíssima.
Quem imaginar que crianças iam construir um satélite?
Para a gente também foi uma surpresa quando fomos convidados para esse trabalho.
A ciência é real, não aquela ciência da escola.
São alunos que vão representar o Brasil em eventos internacionais.
É incrível ver que o projeto foi até aqui, veio até o Japão.
I hope more schools do that kind of projects.
hora de poder apresentar e acabar tudo isso logo de uma vez.
My name is Jordan, and I'm representing Vinnova Site.
Eu acho que o Ubatuba, enquanto cidade, tem que estar orgulhoso desses meninos.
I think they have a great future.
Agora até deu vontade de ser astronauta.
Eu nunca achei que eu ia estar aqui. Uma oportunidade única, eu não posso nunca desperdiçar ela.
This is to say that those technologies, they're opening up opportunities that we had never seen before. Those are young Brazilians. They come from poor backgrounds. They study in a public school, and they're launching a satellite. It was supposed to be launched from the International Space Station on November the 20th. It's a CubeSat or a nanosat. It's made from parts that are available in the global market. It's being integrated in Brazil by those young kids. And all those things put together, I would say that the future on innovation in Brazil, it's about resources. We surely need to expand that, and we are aiming at a new initiative that will enable us to go into big science. That will be really challenging. We don't have the experience. We don't have the talent in general, but we know that we need to aim at that. It's about going global and combining business skills and taking advantage of the fact that the world's not flat. There are lots of asymmetries. So if we could take advantage and bundle different capabilities from different places, and we could come up with a synthesis in terms of innovation and internationalization, that will be an asset. It's about taking advantage of new opportunities and new models, fast, big, small, at the same time, taking advantage of exponential technologies. And this is related to Lando Moura. It's about the ecosystem. Because if that guy went to the United States in the beginning of, let's say, 2 centuries ago, if he was born in a different environment, probably he would have succeeded. So crafting an environment, improving institutions is a key issue. And we'll be addressing that in the years to come. I'm pretty sure, as Sam has said, that technology is not constraining us. Institutions are, policies are, human-built organizations or structures are. There are lots of opportunities, but lots of challenges in the way ahead. And I hope if we succeed that we'll find more innovative Brazilian companies making the headlines, not just big, but small ones. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Roberto.
Yes.
You will stay on for the
Yes.
discussion in the afternoon. Roberto will be back in the afternoon. Now